I arrived at the family meeting I had paid for myself. The place was empty. Mom laughed, and it was yesterday. "We'll bring you the leftovers." I didn't say anything, but the next morning the police spoke for me. I should have known something was wrong the moment I entered the parking lot. No familiar cars. No noise. None of my cousins smoking by the bins and pretending no one saw them. Just silence. I checked the message. Friday, 7:00 p.m. Casa Mateo restaurant. I was so excited to see them all. Mom sent it 2 weeks ago. It was Friday the 7th, 2 minutes in the afternoon. I arrived right on time. Like a fool. I entered, and the cold air gave way to smooth jazz and the clinking of glasses. The place wasn't empty, but the private room I had booked and paid for was locked and dark. "Can I help you, sir?" the waitress asked, barely lifting her gaze. "Yes, the Torres family reservation. The private room." She checked the list. "Ah, yes, that was last night." I blinked, confused. "No, it's not tonight. I paid the deposit. I made the reservation personally." She tilted her head in doubt. "Sir, they were here. 16 people. There was a big cake. Your mom brought cards with the names. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" "Not." I laughed. A dry, sharp laugh, the kind that fades before fully leaving your mouth. "No, I'm not mistaken." She paused uncomfortably. Now she wanted to call someone. I didn't answer. She was already dialing. The phone rang twice before she answered. "Hello, darling," Mom said with a voice that was too light. Too casual. "Is everything okay?" I stared straight ahead. "Where is everyone?" A pause. Then she let out that light laugh she always used when she knew she messed up but didn't want to admit it. "Oh, honey, it was yesterday. We thought you wouldn't come, but don't worry, we'll bring you the leftovers." I was frozen. "What?" She repeated as if it were no big deal. "It was yesterday. We'll bring you the leftovers. I didn't even say goodbye. I just hung up. No one called back. Not Mom, not Lucia. No one." Then a message arrived. "Lucia? Ha 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 ha. Seriously? You missed it, bro. Typical. Don't worry, we saved you a bun." My hand was shaking. From the cold or the anger, I couldn't tell which one. I looked at the waitress. They came, ate, left. She shrugged. They seemed to be having a good time. Of course they did. They always do when I'm not around. I left without saying anything else. I didn't call, I didn't shout, I didn't write in the family group. But I didn't go home either. I stayed in the car, engine off, looking at my reflection in the windshield, thinking about the bill, the charge on my card, the 10 unread messages I sent to my mom 3 days ago to confirm the time. They all knew. They just didn't care. They had made that decision together. And tomorrow I would make mine. One might think being excluded from a family dinner that you paid for yourself would be the worst part. But it wasn't. It was just the cherry on top of a bitter 5-year ice cream. You see, this wasn't the first time they left me out. It wasn't even close. It was just the first time they were honest enough to not pretend otherwise. I was always the last choice. During our childhood, Lucia was the brilliant one, the one who just needed a little push to start. I was the one who didn't need much. That was her code to survive without affection. So we're not going to waste it on you. When I got my first real job, I proudly called Mom. She didn't say, "Congratulations, great. Now you can finally help your sister with the rent." That was the beginning. A month's rent became a whole year. Then the bills came, then her dental surgery, later the car insurance, then the books for her new nursing course, which she dropped after 1 semester without ever paying me back. I paid because I thought that's what you do when you love your family. But the affection in my family only flowed in one direction. Every time I tried to bring it up, even softly, I was answered with things like, "Stop being so selfish. We're family. Lucia is going through a lot, you know that perfectly. You're doing better than she is. Why are you keeping track?" I wasn't keeping track, they just refused to see that I was running out of energy. I particularly remember one night 2 years ago. I had just sent $600 to Lucia for a veterinary emergency. Later that same day, she posted a story about new shoes, new nails, and some guy holding a champagne glass. I showed the story to Mom. She swiped the screen, smiled sarcastically. "And you guys always get so petty with money." "Petty?" I paid her property taxes last winter because Dad forgot, and the city sent them an eviction notice. I covered the minimum payments on Lucia's credit card for 6 months when she lost her job, even though I could barely keep myself afloat. One Christmas, I drained all my savings to buy presents for everyone. And what did I get? A framed family photo. I wasn't in it, but nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to that night when I heard what they really thought of me. It was about 6 months ago. I was at my parents' house for the weekend. I had just pulled Lucia out of another problem. This time it was $1,200 because she accidentally overdrew her account again. I went downstairs for water and overheard voices from the living room. Lucia is obsessed with playing the victim. It's embarrassing. Mom responded, I know. She acts like some kind of savior just because she pays for some things. Then Dad laughed and added, let her pay. She's not going to find a wife anyway. At least she's good for something. I froze in the hallway. Then Lucia added with a voice, you know he thinks without him we'd fall apart? She snorted, please. If he disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't even notice. I didn't go into the living room, went upstairs, lay on the bed, and stared at the ceiling. The next morning, Mom made pancakes like nothing had happened. After that, I stopped sending money for about 2 weeks. Then I received a message from Lucia. Lucia, I need help with the rent. I'll pay you back, I promise. I didn't reply. 2 days later, Mom called. Mom, Lucia's behind on the bills. She's going through a rough time. You know how sensitive she is. Why are you being so cold? I simply replied, I can't keep doing this. She said, if you're going to punish us for raising you, maybe we shouldn't have bothered. That broke me more than I admitted at the time. I sent the money later that same day. And now, after all that, they organized a family gathering without me. A dinner I paid for that I confirmed. And when I called Mom to ask where everyone was, she had the audacity to say, it was yesterday. We'll bring you the leftovers. Leftovers like a dog, not like a son, not like a brother. Just a wallet with arms. That night I sat in the car in front of Casa Mateo restaurant for a long time. I didn't cry, I didn't shout. I just sat in that heavy, thick silence thinking of every single time I had been the good one and how much it had cost me. Tomorrow I wouldn't be the good one. Tomorrow they would learn how it feels when I stop playing my role. And I knew exactly where to start. That night I didn't sleep. Not because I was sad, not even angry. Honestly, I was calculating. That dinner at Casa Mateo restaurant cost me $17.40, taxes and tips included. 16 people, appetizers, customized menu. I even paid an extra supplement for Lucia's vegan nonsense and Aunt Maria's wine allergy adaptations. Not only had they forgotten about me, they knew perfectly well and did it anyway. The next morning I sent a message to the group. See you tonight at Mom's house. 2 p.m. I have something for you. No one asked what it was. Of course they didn't. They never asked anything when it came to me. At 6:58 p.m., I parked at my parents' house. Inside, they were already gathered. Lucia was on her phone. Dad was in his recliner with a beer. Mom was arranging the cushions on the couch as if we were expecting guests. She looked up and smiled. Hello, darling. We weren't sure if you'd still be upset. I didn't respond. Lucia looked up, pretending sympathy. You know we didn't mean to hurt you, she said simply. It was easier for everyone to come on Thursday. Most of us have lives. She said that without any shame. I placed a large envelope on the table. What is this? Mom asked. I slowly sat down calmly and replied, It's a bill. Dad chuckled mockingly. A bill? Why? For the dinner, I replied. The one you all enjoyed without me. Lucia laughed. You're joking. I'm not. Mom squinted. Are you seriously trying to get us to pay you back? No, I said, leaning forward. I'm giving you the chance because from now on, anything you want from me will come with an invoice. There was silence. Then Dad straightened up in his chair. You need to get rid of this attitude, son. We're family. Sure, I replied. Family. The same family that intentionally excluded me from a gathering I paid for? The same family that has drained me financially and emotionally for 5 years straight. Lucia rolled her eyes. Come on. No one forced you to pay. That was the moment something finally broke inside me. I stood up. You know what? Fine. Let's talk then about all the things no one forced me to do. I pointed at Lucia. No one forced me to pay your rent for 2 years, or to cover your overdraft fees, or to change your car's transmission. I turned to Mom. No one forced me to pay your back taxes, or the cruise you wanted for your birthday when you said Dad had forgotten it, or the groceries when suddenly you couldn't walk because of your knee. Dad's face turned red. Watch what you're saying. Oh, this is just the beginning, I said, pulling out a printed list from my pocket. You don't want to hear it? Well, I do, because I had to live through it. And then came the surprise. I took out a folder and threw it on the table. What's this now? Dad asked angrily. I smiled. Documentation of every transaction, every bank transfer, every payment through Visum, every PayPal payment, every receipt. Lucia scoffed sarcastically. Wow, you're really exaggerating, aren't you? I said calmly. I'm covered because I filed a fraud complaint this morning. All of this? I tapped the folder with my finger. It's already in the system. What are you talking about? Mom asked, suddenly lowering her voice. I looked her straight in the eyes. Last week I discovered someone used my name to open a new credit card. The same one that was used to buy a new iPhone. A spa package Lucia posted saying it was a gift from a friend. Lucia froze. I called the credit company. They're investigating it as identity theft. The address they gave? Yours. Lucia jumped up suddenly. You're joking. Not at all, I replied. And if you think I'm not pressing charges, don't you dare, Mom said angrily. Try me. The room exploded in shouting. Lucia yelled. How dramatic you are, Dad, yelled. Do you want to send your own sister to jail? You plan to keep playing the fool forever? I replied firmly. Mom started crying. You're destroying this family, aren't you? I said as I walked toward the door. I'm finally saving myself from it. And then came the second surprise. As I turned to leave, someone spoke for the first time. My cousin Lucas, the quiet one, the one who barely said a word at family gatherings. I'd like to pay my share, he said softly, of the dinner. I mean, it's only fair. Everyone turned to look at him, stunned. He added, and I know I should have said something earlier. But yes, they planned to exclude you. I was there when they laughed about it. They said you were being too dramatic. I'm really sorry. I looked at him, and for the first time that night I smiled. Thank you. Then I left. They thought they could use me forever. But they forgot one thing. Even the quietest ones end up speaking. And when we do, we don't whisper. We called the police. The next morning at 8:17 a.m., my phone vibrated. Private number. I answered. Good morning. Am I speaking with Alejandro Torres? Yes. This is Officer Ramirez from the local police station. We are currently following up on a fraud complaint regarding a credit card opened in your name. Your family shows up on the billing address. We will visit the residence today to take a statement. I was silent for a moment. Then you need me there? No, sir. You've already done your part. We will take care of it from here. I hung up the phone and sat silently. For the first time, they would open the door and find someone they couldn't manipulate. This time I didn't have to speak. The police spoke for me. I thought silence would bring peace. Instead, it brought chaos. They say when you remove the keystone of an arch, everything falls apart. I wasn't the keystone. I was the entire foundation. And the moment I withdrew, the house of cards collapsed. The police visit wasn't subtle, according to a very long and very angry voicemail from Mom. They arrived at 7:45 a.m., when she was still in her robe and Dad hadn't even had his coffee. 2 officers, 1 man, 1 woman. Polite and professional, but direct. We are following up on an identity theft complaint. The credit card was opened in your son's name. It was used for purchases over $4,000 linked to this address. We need to know who had access to it. Mom's response must be a mistake. We are a good family. Classic. They asked to speak with everyone in the house. Lucia tried to leave halfway through, saying she had to work. The officers asked her to stay. She crumbled in less than 5 minutes. It wasn't even fraud. He always helps. I thought he wouldn't care. Mom quickly intervened. She's very stressed. It wasn't her intention, but it was too late. The officer noted everything down, recorded it, and even asked to check Lucia's phone. That's when things took a turn for the worse. They found messages from Lucia to a friend. I used my brother's details again. Spa day at his expense. Ha ha ha. I don't care. He's so naive, he won't even notice. It wasn't just fraud, it was premeditated. And they had proof. That same day I received a call from a detective assigned to the case. We have enough information to press charges formally. Do you want to proceed with the complaint? I asked for 1 day. That afternoon my phone exploded with calls and messages. 27 missed calls, 41 messages. Mom, Alejandro, please, we need to talk, it was just a mistake. She panicked. She's still your sister. Dad, you don't want to destroy her life over this. Lucia, you're selfish. I'll lose my job, my apartment. Would you really do this to your own family? Funny how no one cared when I was losing parts of myself helping them. I waited a day. Then I called the detective again. Can we temporarily pause the formal complaint? He agreed but made something clear. This doesn't disappear. It just stays on hold. That's when Mom made her move. She called me with a soft voice, like silk over a blade. If you really want to fix things, come home. Let's talk face to face. Against my better judgment, I went, but as soon as I stepped inside, I regretted it. Lucia was on the couch covered with a blanket, pretending to be the victim. Mom had her matriarchal, worried expression rehearsed perfectly. Dad didn't even get up. We just want to heal, Mom said. We want to? I replied. We know you're hurt, but this is destroying the family. I didn't answer. Lucia did that. Lucia's voice broke. I didn't think you'd really go to the police. Who does something like that? Someone you've pushed to the limit, I replied. Mom tried to take my hand. Let's make this disappear. We'll pay everything. You don't need to involve the police. Funny, I said. Why didn't you offer that before they showed up? She withdrew her hand like I slapped her. Finally, Dad spoke. You're not perfect either. You think this makes you some kind of hero? I looked him in the eyes. No, this makes me free. And then I left again. But this time, for good. A week passed. I received another call from the detective. We've received a payment for the charges. They marked it as anonymous, but it came from a joint account in your parents' names. Do you still want to press charges? I thought for a long moment. Then I replied no, but added, not this time, but I want it on record. If they touch anything in my name again, I want you to report it. He agreed, and I hung up. And just like that, I was done with them. No more money, no more guilt, no more entering rooms where I was invisible, until someone needed me to pay the phone bill. A new beginning. 2 weeks later, I moved out of the region. A small town in Andalusia. Quiet, with a kind landlord, with rent that was half of what I used to pay. I spent my first weekend assembling IKEA furniture and listening to old music I hadn't heard since college. I went to the supermarket and bought whatever I wanted. I sat on my own couch with a coffee, a book, and no one knocked on the door asking for help. And for the first time in a decade, I understood. I was no longer responsible for anyone but myself. But here's the unexpected part. 3 weeks into my new life, I received a handwritten letter with no sender address. Inside was a folded sheet of paper. A check. The note said, I don't expect you to forgive me, but thank you for doing what I never had the courage to do. Lucas. The check was for half of the Casa Mateo restaurant bill. I smiled. He didn't owe me anything, but he understood. And the others? I never heard from them again. Not for my birthday, not at Christmas. Not even when Dad had surgery later that same year. I only found out through a post on Facebook from a distant cousin. And you know what? Better that way. They had finally learned how it felt to live without me. And I finally learned how to live without them. People say blood is thicker than water, but they forget the second part of that. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. In other words, the loyalty you choose matters more than the shared DNA. And I finally learned that the hard way. The last time I saw my family's faces was the day I walked out of that house with the folder in my hand and fire in my chest. Since then, not a word. And that silence used to feel like a punishment. Now it feels like fresh air. A few weeks ago, I ran into someone from my hometown, a high school classmate. She recognized me in line at the hardware store. "Hey, weren't you Lucia's brother?" I paused, smiled. "Not anymore. No shame." "Not. No doubts. Because I'm no longer Lucia's brother. I'm no longer the good son. I'm no longer the bank. I'm no longer the one who shows up when everyone else disappears. I'm myself. And for the first time in 32 years, that's enough. They thought I wouldn't survive without them, that I would come crawling back, that I needed their version of love, their emotional blackmail disguised as concern, their control disguised as closeness. They were wrong. I don't need Sunday dinners where I sit in silence while they toast to themselves. I don't need those "how are you" messages that are really just preambles to ask for something. I don't need to explain to anyone why I changed my number, why I moved without leaving an address, or why I never showed up for Christmas. Let them wonder. Let them worry. Let them try to explain my absence to the rest of the family, to the neighbors, even to themselves. Because deep down, they know perfectly well. They pushed me out. And for the first time, I didn't beg to come back. Want to know the best part? They lost control the second I stopped begging for love and started demanding respect. Because people like them use the word family as a weapon. But the second you respond by setting boundaries, they call you cold, selfish, broken. But I'm none of those things. I'm just no longer theirs. And Lucia, she didn't lose her job. She didn't go to jail. But you know what she did lose? Her mask. Now the whole family knows what she did. How she lied. How she used me. How she laughed behind my back while draining me to the last drop. And now no one trusts her. Lucas left home. Aunt Carolina refuses to let her take care of her children. Uncle Esteban told me in a brief phone call that he didn't expect me to. Lucia's name is now mud at every family event. "You don't need to go back," he said. "They were the ones who ruined everything." Now we all see it clearly. But I told him the same thing I'll tell you now. It's not about who sees it clearly. It's about who survived. And I survived. So no, I'm not going to pretend everything is fine. I'm not going to send birthday cards or answer calls out of guilt. I'm not going to show up for fake hugs or tense family meals, just so Mom can make passive-aggressive comments about how hard it is to keep the family together these days. I'm no longer theirs, and that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Now I wake up and feel peace. I work and keep what I earn. I eat what I want. I don't apologize for saying no. I'm not startled when my phone vibrates. I no longer hold my breath for people who say they love me. I'm free, and not because they let me go, but because I finally stopped waiting for their permission. Let them keep their leftover dinners. Let them pass around my picture as if I'm dead. Let them murmur, beg, shout, manipulate the story, and call me the villain. I'll keep sleeping like a baby. Because the truth is very simple. When they closed that door in front of me, I wasn't the one who lost a family. They were the ones who lost me. And that's the first debt they'll never be able to repay.